Is the Sony A6400 worth its $1,500 Aussie price tag in late 2023? I borrowed the Sony A6400 from a friend for about a month or so now with the kit lens, and during that time I took it on a photo walk through the streets of Sydney City, as well as to a couple of board game nights with some friends to see how it holds up in just everyday use, and I did a sunset portrait shoot with a model, which we will look at later on. So before we jump into those experiences though, let's talk about the body itself. First thing, let's talk about the size. This camera is tiny, especially when you pair it with the kit lens. It's so small that you won't even notice it in your backpack, let alone if you've got deep enough pockets, it'll probably even be able to slide into those. Now, with the smaller size, that does mean it comes with the smaller battery from the old A7 II series and before. So if you're gonna go out all day and shoot with this, you will definitely want to pick up 1 or 2 extra batteries to bring along. Now, in saying that, with a smaller size, and this is a personal preference at the end of the day, it does mean you get a smaller grip. And for me personally, I just like to have a nice deep grip so I have a good hold on the camera. But if you have a small lens, you really don't notice it too much. The larger your lenses get, the heavier it becomes, the more front heavy, and so you start to realize that you actually don't have a good grip on the camera alone. Now, when it comes to dials and customizable buttons and wheels and buttons and everything, you don't have a lot. You do have your one customized button on the top, you've got your one dial wheel at the top, you've also got the back wheel and then the buttons there, but really it's a very simple, dulled down version compared to what we currently have with newer cameras. Now, that might sound like a negative, but later on I'm going to tell you why I think this is actually a positive for beginners. One of the quirks that I actually really like about this camera, and to be fair, it makes it feel a little bit dated, and it is older. It's something you don't see on cameras as often anymore, especially the Sony APS-C lineup, but I do think it's very fun. It's a quirk that is kind of useless at the end of the day, but hey, in a pinch you might use it, and it's this. It's this flash button that you have built in. I think it's very fun. It's super cute. It's not something that I would use. I'd get just a proper flash to sit on top, but you know, it's fun. The last thing I'm going to say about the body itself that I didn't think I'd enjoy as much, but I actually kind of will miss, is the tilt out screen. Now, I have the Sony A7 IV and A7C. They have the flip screen, and it is by far a great screen, and it is better. But you know what? I'm going to say this. When I needed a quick shot and I couldn't get my eye in the eyepiece and there was a glare on the back of the screen, it saved me more time just being able to pull it out, readjust the angle so the glare was gone and I could take my photo, opposed to flipping it out and twisting it around, which actually does take a little bit longer. So points there. When it comes to video capabilities of the Sony A6400, it's all right, especially for a beginner. Yes, you get 4K 24 frames per second, but you don't get 60 frames, and that's okay. You can have 60 frames in HD, which is more than enough if you are a beginner videographer stepping into this world. And you know what? The best thing here is it has S-Log 3, which even my Sony A7C doesn't have, and that is a much more expensive full frame camera, and I'm surprised that it didn't get that small upgrade when we actually got the A7C. So that is something that this camera does have. So let's take a look at what the footage looks like while we walk to our shoot location with our model. All right, this is the A6400 handheld in S-Log 3, which is pretty interesting. There's no mic on top, it's internal. And we're just headed over to the shoot location this afternoon. We've got our model Gina here.
Hi.
So we're gonna go take some photos with this camera with the kit lens and my 35mm prime. But I'm gonna slap a color grade on this and see what it looks like. Comment below. I can't see myself because the screen doesn't flip out, so I have no idea if we're in focus. But this is pretty much how it looks. Comment, how does it look? What do you think of this? Is it too shaky? It's handheld, there's a little bit of stabilization on it, but we'll see. So comment below what you thought of the footage. I haven't seen it until I've actually edited this video, but I'm still impressed it got the S-Log 3, and I'm wondering how well and how easy that actual color grading was. So let's talk about the kit lens. 90% of the time I had this on the camera body so I could get that true beginner experience, only taking it off and swapping it out for a 35mm 1.8 prime during the photo shoot. And I found during my street walk and time with my friends, the kit lens really did struggle. It was a challenge. Whereas when you have a controlled setting and some incredible golden hour light, the kit lens did provide some quality images. Though overall, what I found was the images themselves seem a little bit flat. They're not as sharp. The colors aren't as nice unless you do some edits. And on top of that, at 16mm, you do get some heavy warping and a lot of vignetting in those corners. Whereas if we put it up against the 35 prime, for example, you can see already that those issues aren't present. And on top of that, it is just sharper. There's more subject separation because of that 1.8 aperture. And overall, it does provide a better image. And so the camera is still quite good. You do just need to pair it with some nice glass. Something that I am going to add on here, just that you can't see in the images, is the experience of using it, is that unfortunately, it just didn't get as many shots. There were a lot of missed shots. The autofocus wasn't as good, but when I threw on the prime, the much higher quality glass, it just stuck better. And so there were less missed shots, and so all of a sudden it was quicker in the workflow and easier to move on to other poses and to really enjoy the flow of the photo shoot. Also, Gina is great and really worth a mention here. She makes her own content on YouTube of living life as someone that has diagnosed anxiety with PMDD while being an actor, model, and YouTuber, and also doing a bunch of other things in her life. So look, if that's something that you're interested in checking out, I'll leave her socials in the box below. I'm pretty negative about the kit lens, and look, let's be honest, it isn't that great. You will want to upgrade to something better early on. But if you are a new photographer, very beginner, I say get it. And there's a very good reason for this. The main reason is you probably don't know what you want to shoot just yet. You know you want to learn, but you probably don't know exactly what types of photos you want to take. Where does your style sort of sit? And so by having a zoom lens that can go to this ultra wide 16mm all the way down to punching in at 50mm, you're going to learn a lot about your type of photography preferences. Spend 3 months with the kit lens. Take it out 2 to 3 times a week with friends, go to a variety of places, go out to some nature spots for landscape, go through the city and do some street photography, try and take photos indoors to get some architecture. Ask friends to be models for you. Do that for 3 months with the kit lens. Then when you're done, look at those pictures. Look at your favorite ones. What were you shooting is what you're gonna see first. Was it portraits, landscape, street, a little bit of a mix? Did 2 sort of stick out to you? Then on top of that, of your favorite photos, look at what focal length you mostly shot in, because this information is actually going to save you money in the long run. It's going to show you what type of lens you should be investing in, rather than looking online and going, what's the best lens? So the kit lens is going to give you that information. Maybe 3 months is too long. Maybe just do it for a month while you save up. But I do think that for a beginner photographer, the kit lens actually does have a lot of value. Apart from the kit lens giving you that learning opportunity, the dials that I mentioned before are slimmed down. Yes, I shoot with a Sony A7 IV. I have multiple customizable dials and buttons. However, I worked my way up to that knowledge. The actual amount that you have on the A6400 is perfect because you are learning your ISO, your aperture, and your shutter speed. You're learning that triangle. So you don't want to have too many options. You don't want to have this analysis paralysis where you just don't know what's going where and you don't even know what your shooting style is or how to customize everything. Honestly, all it really could have done with is a front dial, so you could have ISO, shutter speed, and aperture separate altogether. But that's just a little thing. The A6400 really is a quality camera to start with for beginners, and I do recommend that you grab it if you can. Maybe on sale. My negative view on this is the price does seem a bit much. If you really liked this video, give it a thumbs up, and I will see you in the next one.